Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving straight into the incredibly high-stakes world of semiconductors, breaking down what's happening based on a single, pivotal week of news from late 2025. Every move here is a big deal, and it's all shaping our tech future.
So let's start with a number, $1 trillion. That's the prize. That's the projected value of the semiconductor market by 2026, and it is pretty much the reason for everything we're about to talk about.
And what's just wild here is the speed of this growth. We're talking a projected 22.5% jump in 2025 alone. And you can thank one thing for that, our planet's insatiable hunger for AI. This isn't just steady growth. No, this is the gold rush of our era.
But here's the thing about a gold rush this big. It's not just companies duking it out for market share. No, this battle is being fought on a global geopolitical chessboard.
And the first big move on that board, well, it's happening as we speak. It's a kind of silent trade war, where countries are starting to use access to critical manufacturing materials as a weapon.
And this right here perfectly captures that tug of war. On one side, you have Japan putting the squeeze on a key material, photoresist. That's the super important light-sensitive stuff you need to edge circuits. And China's response? They're not backing down. They're trying to engineer their way right around the problem.
Yeah, and you've really got to get this. China is not just playing defense here. They are going on the offensive, aggressively building a whole parallel ecosystem. We're talking filing patents left and right, getting creative by stacking older chips to get the performance they need. They're aiming for total independence.
But, this isn't just about one or two countries anymore. The entire global supply chain is shifting under our feet. I mean, just look at where the money's going. You've got Intel expanding packaging in Malaysia, onsemi building a huge new facility in the Czech Republic for silicon carbide, which is vital for EVs, and Micron pouring billions into Japan. Everyone is scrambling to build stronger, more diverse supply chains and get away from the old choke points.
Okay, so that's the big picture between countries. Now let's zoom in on the companies themselves, where the titans of the industry are in this absolutely ruthless fight for the top spot.
So where's the first major battleground? It's all about getting a spot in line at the world's top chipmaker, TSMC. It really boils down to simple supply and demand. There just aren't enough state-of-the-art production slots to go around for everybody's next big thing.
And you don't have to take my word for it. NVIDIA's own CEO Jensen Huang basically says it all. The pressure is just immense. You have to run at a breakneck speed because in the AI game, there's always someone new coming for your crown.
And speaking of challengers, a big one might be coming from an old rival making a comeback. For the first time in what feels like forever, a re-energized Intel might actually break TSMC's exclusive ironclad grip on Apple. If that happens, whoa, that would completely redraw the map of the entire industry.
And this fight isn't just about the main processors. It's also about the super-fast memory, the HBM, that you need to feed those AI beasts. You've got Samsung and SK Hynix locked in what everyone's calling a super cycle, a brutal war, where billions are at stake to be the ones supplying the next generation of AI chips. Okay, so we're starting to see who the main players are, right? Well, just when you think you've got it figured out, the rules of the game change. The fight isn't just about who can make the most advanced piece of silicon anymore.
And the key thing to understand about advanced packaging is this. It doesn't matter one bit how amazing your chip is if you can't assemble it properly. Packaging has suddenly become the new bottleneck for the entire industry. It's all about how you put the puzzle pieces together.
And if you want proof of just how bad this bottleneck is, look no further. In a move that would have been absolutely unthinkable just a few years ago, a titan like Intel is being forced to outsource its own tech to a partner, Amkor, just to keep up with demand. That's huge.
So all of this, it leads to a much bigger and honestly a more worrying question that's hanging over this entire trillion-dollar expansion.
You see, the industry is getting squeezed from two directions. On one hand, you have the absolutely astronomical costs of building all this AI infrastructure. I mean, IBM's CEO is basically asking if it's even financially possible. And on the other, you have the brutal pace of competition, where a leader like OpenAI reportedly hits the panic button, a code red, the second a rival like Google's Gemini starts to pull ahead.
All right, so let's tie all these threads together, because what emerges is a picture of a future that's, well, it's both incredibly exciting and dangerously fragile.
Okay, first big takeaway. For all the talk and all the money being thrown around, the supply chain is still dangerously concentrated. They call it structural rigidity, which is just a fancy way of saying if something goes wrong in one of a handful of places, the entire global economy could be in serious trouble. And right now, the current spending isn't fixing that core problem.
And that brings us to the second insight. Just as TSMC's founder warned everyone, you can't just copy-paste success. The magic of Taiwan is this super dense one-hour ecosystem of suppliers and experts. And trying to replicate that in, say, Arizona? Well, it's proving to be incredibly difficult and way more expensive than anyone thought. Government money alone can't build that kind of network from scratch.
And for a final insight, look at Samsung. On the surface, their profits are soaring and everything looks great. But dig a little deeper, and some analysts are calling it the Thelma and Louise model. Why? Because they're driving full speed ahead, boosting short-term profits with price hikes, while at the same time cutting back on essential factory maintenance. It's a high-wire act that could lead them right off a cliff.
So where does that leave us? It all comes down to this one question. In a race this fast, this expensive, and this fragile, who is actually built to last? In this trillion-dollar war, with brittle supply lines and massive gambles, it's entirely possible that the companies winning today are taking the exact risks that will make sure they're not around to see the finish line.